Hey everybody, I'm going to give you a very big update on another ATF overreach that we haven't heard much of for a while, and that is the rare breed trigger case and even what has happened to the customer list. Has it been released? Has it not? Let's talk about it here. But first, if you think that the Second Amendment means exactly what it says and that the ATF are a bunch of buffoons looking to shred our rights, then like the video and subscribe down below. On this channel, you get Second Amendment news every single day, so please check back often because there's so much stuff to talk about with this government trying to just infringe constantly. It's actually sickening. But let's first talk about, because there are going to be some people who aren't up to date with this case, let's talk about the quick basics. Congress's definition of machine gun includes single function of the trigger, and it's been that way since 1934, okay? Now, FRTs, or forced reset triggers, or the wide open trigger, or FRT-15, they all force the reset of a trigger and thus are not machine guns. They do not meet the definition of machine gun. There are slow motion videos out there showing them in operation and that they actually force the trigger to reset. Thus, it's not a single function of a trigger. I have shot one before at an event I was at, and if you just yank that trigger to the rear, you're going to get one shot. It's not a full auto machine gun. It's not. But in 2018, the ATF decided to change another rule because that's what this tyrannical government does. They don't like things. They just twist the rule by an unelected group of bureaucrats who don't have the constitutional authority to do it, right? But in this rule, they changed the definition of machine gun. And just like they have for so many other things of lately, those good little tyrants, they have stripped away Americans' rights with a pen, not a congressional vote. So ATF changed the definition from a single function of a trigger to a single pull of the trigger and analogous motions. Now, we already know that the ATF cannot make law. They cannot change congressional definitions, but they've done so, and they're getting slapped down as of late, which is another reason you should subscribe to this channel to stay in the know. Now, back to the FRT case. Now, according to Lawrence DeMonico, who is the president of Rare Breed Triggers, their lawsuit in Eastern District of New York against the ATF, he said the ATF is now using the phrase constant rearward pressure, not single function of the trigger, and that's big. They've changed their verbiage again. That now puts the onus on the shooter, not the firearm, in converting to a full auto machine gun, right? So if that was the case, if that was the law, then Jerry Miculek is a walking machine gun, and he has to be careful because ATF is looking for him. That's how absolutely asinine this is. Another thing to think about is good shooters must maintain constant rearward pressure on a trigger. And they should vary that pressure during the shooting process, from taking up slack on the trigger to prepping the trigger to the break of the trigger, and even through the reset process, the shooter should maintain constant rearward pressure on the trigger. You are not required by anyone to remove your trigger every time you fire a shot. The ATF is absolutely ridiculous. Also, that phrase, constant rearward pressure, wasn't even in the new rule that they designed on these types of triggers, and that alone is a violation of the APA, the Administrative Procedures Act. So ATF is going to get their teeth kicked in on this. Also, according to DeMonico, the ATF has said that they have been using this constant rearward pressure to secretly classify items since 1975. He also said that ATF conceded a few things in their last hearing in this case for a preliminary injunction in the Eastern District of New York, and those are the following. Number one, the trigger functions for every round that is fired, the FRT trigger we're talking about. Number two, the FRT-15 is pulled and thus moves to the rear for every round fired. And number three, the FRT-15 resets between every round that is fired. If that is the case and the ATF actually did concede those things, the ATF should lose this case immediately. Now, DeMonico then addressed the customer list. That has been a question for many people since the ATF started to knock on doors and demand people's forced reset style trigger. Now, Delmonico remains steadfast that Rare Breed has not turned over any customer list. But, there's a but. Through discovery in this lawsuit, Rare Breed has learned that ATF did obtain Rare Breed's shipping records from the United States Postal Service without a warrant. What does that mean? Well, let's talk about this first. Delmonico stated that Rare Breed triggers didn't start using the United States Postal Service until they started shipping wide open triggers, the Watt trigger, and that was after the issues they had with Big Daddy Unlimited in the patent infringement case. And they started to send those through USPS in late 2022. So what does that mean? It doesn't say, the shipping records doesn't say what's in the package. It just says that someone received a package from Rare Breed triggers. So be aware. Next, Delmonico addressed UPS, who they've been using a lot longer than the USPS. He said that the Department of Justice, the DOJ, served UPS with a subpoena to obtain Rare Breed triggers shipping records. He states that the DOJ was able to receive their shipping records, but as of now, those records are sealed per court order, preventing the DOJ from sharing them with the ATF. They might have done it already. Let's be honest about how this government works. Now, there's a new lawsuit. All of that I just talked about was unveiled through their lawsuit in the Eastern District of New York. This new lawsuit that they have filed, I think it was like a couple days ago, it's the National Association of Gun Rights versus Garland, and it's in the Northern District of Texas. Why is that significant? Because the Northern District of Texas has given us victories in the bump stock case in Cargill, the frames and receivers case in Vanderstock, and it's the same district where we have not one, not two, sound like LeBron James, but three sets of injunctions on the pistol brace rule, right? SAF, FPC, and GOA members, as well as the individual plaintiffs. And that district has been very, very tough on ATF and their illegal rulemaking, which is strategically why I'm pretty sure that they have filed in the Northern District of Texas. They're looking for an injunction. They're looking for a victory. Now, I will say again that to the letter of the law, which is made by Congress, not a bunch of suits in the ATF and the DOJ, that according to the letter of the law, a forced reset trigger is not a machine gun. They don't like that, they being the government, because it does allow people to shoot faster. But again, I have used one at an event, and it's very difficult to be accurate with a forced reset trigger. So don't believe the BS, don't believe the party line, and you'll probably never know what happened in Vegas. But I just wanted to give you guys the update of the forced reset trigger fiasco with the ATF trying to change law by making a new rule. Yeah, that's a reoccurring theme. So guys and gals, if you want updates on the bump stock case, the pistol brace case, the frames and receivers case, the forced reset trigger case, and anything else the ATF tries to change when they can't do it, then follow this channel, subscribe down below, and join this growing freedom family. I appreciate you all. Hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.